everybody. Welcome to the overgrown ivy castle build. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it right now. So, I've always wanted to build a castle. It's always been really difficult, and as you can see, I always just like focus on what the front of the build is like, what the shape's gonna be like. And that's what always happens when I do a build that I'm not like 100% confident that I'm going to be able to pull it off like correctly. So that's how you could easily tell. It's just like a square coming off of the back and I'm like, okay, how do I make the front look cute? And all of this ends up changing. I don't really end up liking the rounded walls at the front, and I think that was a good call because if I had rounded walls there, it would have been even more impossible to do the interior because I have a lot of rounded walls in this for towers and stuff, and I didn't put anything in them because the game makes it impossible for you to do anything with it. So it's like it ends up being like not really huge. It's 2 bedrooms, but like the downstairs is definitely larger. It has everything that you would need. It's got like a kitchen, a dining room, an entryway, and a living room. There's no bathroom downstairs though. I always want to have at least a bathroom on each level of the house. And then I always forget. So then if I forget the bathroom on the ground floor, I'm like, okay, I'll do it on the other floor at this point, you know? But this video is also going to be longer than some of the other ones that I've posted. If you've seen my other ones, you'd have heard me talk about how I don't want my videos to be super long. And so I'm going to split them up into exterior and interior videos. This time I'm just putting both together because the interior, it doesn't have like too much detail in it, so the video is only like 10 minutes, and so I was like, I can just throw that in here so I could kind of like get this build done because I've had this build like made for at least a couple of weeks already, and I just want to move on to something else. Like if I have too many things like in a backlog that I have to work on, I start getting confused. And so this has been one of the builds that I've just like been having, and I'm like, I just need this gone. So let me just do both of them at once. And after I do this, I'm not even sure what I have to post for next week. So I'm hoping that I could get this video out when I'm planning on it, because I do want to upload once a week. And right now it's been Mondays, just to keep it like in my brain. I hope that I can, because it's currently Friday. This video has been giving me so much trouble. Every time I load it in my like editing software, it says media is missing, and then I have to restart it, and then it's all there. And so then it'll like start like being weird again, and then it'll be like, oh, it's gone. I'm like, it's there though, and then I restart. I ended up doing an entire voiceover for this. And then my browser crashed for some reason, which then caused the audio to crash. And I was like, oh, I'll just redo it. It's not worth like the effort of trying to like, because there's a backup file, and I'm like, maybe it's just a sign to redo it. Because I just kind of rambled in that one anyway, which I normally do, but it was like extra rambling anyway. I did talk about how I never knew how to do those flat roofs though. This was my first attempt, like successful attempt at it. I've tried it once before, and I was actually recording it because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this really cute build and it's gonna have that cool roof I see everyone do. And then I couldn't do it, and I was like, okay. And then I just deleted everything. I probably deleted that video though, but it was like, I thought that I'd go back to it. I'm not. So I do have a couple of videos that I'm working on. There's a shell challenge But I don't want to post that until like after the due date because I don't want like spoilers for Vicky of whose shell challenge it is. But then I have a it was like a cafe library build, and I did the exterior. There's not a lot of detail on it, which is what I wanted. I just wanted to do like a quick little build, and that's what it was. So I need to finish the interior of it. It's just like a bunch of books and stuff, which isn't relevant to this anyway, so it doesn't matter. But for this interior, it's going to be a bunch of red flowers everywhere, so the entire interior is very red, and I have ivy and any plants that have red flowers on it kind of climbing up the walls. The build isn't functional. I tried to make it functional. Every room is functional, but the stairs aren't, so your Sims can't go upstairs at all unless you teleport them, or maybe delete the flowers off of the stairs. But when I go in to record, like, video of this build, I'll end up checking to see if deleting the flowers just makes it playable. Because if it is, then I can, like, write that in a note when I upload it to the gallery. But this is where I started trying to, like, fix the shape of this. And I finally delete those curved walls, which was a great choice because I think I would have been miserable trying to make that work for the interior. Because I didn't put anything into the rounded wall pieces at all. I didn't even try. Like, I think I, like, was going to have a staircase or a ladder in one of them. It didn't even work, so I was like, don't bother, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm like, I was basing this off of a picture, and I think the shape of it ends up being similar to it, or like the composition of it. But overall it doesn't, because it's hard to recreate pictures with like the limitations in The Sims in general. So I never put too much pressure on like making a build look exactly like a picture. And I think once I stopped trying to do that, it became easier to take inspiration from pictures, especially because if I just start building with like kind of nothing in mind, I normally end up building the same type of thing over and over again. So I really enjoy finding a picture and trying to like get inspiration from it, because then I build something that I don't normally build, like this castle. I've tried castles in the past and I usually give up because I think I get too ambitious with it, and I think I make them too large. Like, I'd started a Batu castle and I liked where it was going, but it was just too big. I put it on like a huge lot and I ended up abandoning it. So when I was doing this, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it in Forgotten Hollow. I didn't do it in Moonwood Mill because all my lots were full, and for some reason I can't demolish my lots. And that's why I have 5 different build save files, which makes it impossible for me to find anything. But that's what happens. I like the archways that I had done with that. I kind of feel like maybe I should have put something into that little detail area, but it ends up being okay. I covered the entire thing in ivy, so I didn't have to stress too hard with the wallpaper choices. I did that on purpose. I was like, okay, like, I don't know what I want for this, because I feel like castles all are just like the same type of stone, but I don't like doing a build all the same, so it like ends up being difficult, and then I try too hard and then I remove what I was trying too hard with. I did keep the landscaping very simple for this build. There's almost nothing. Like, this terrain, I just raised it up a little bit just to give it some, like, dimension on the side, because it was all just flat. So, yeah, most of the landscaping is just on the walls of the build, which, like, when I was thinking about this build, I was like, I didn't do any landscaping, so that means the video will be, like, short and fine to, like, put together. But I forgot that I cover the entire thing with plants, so that is the landscaping, so it doesn't save any time because I do the exact amount of effort, but just, like, vertically instead of horizontally around the lot. like the only things I put outside of this are, I think, like a couple of fountains specifically, so when I take a video of it, there can be something moving on the lot. So it's not just like, it's not just relying on the chimney smoke, which I also forget to add. So I had to go back after I already did this, so maybe like towards the end of this exterior, there might be things different that I changed while I was doing the interior when I'm putting like the fireplace, the chimneys. I also end up, like, there's like a square part in the front that I put a diagonal wall for some reason. I felt like it was important enough to change, so I did. It was like a couple of days ago, and I like started this build weeks ago, and it was done. So I just like decided that I wanted to fix it, I guess, for some reason. When I originally was going in to maybe work on the interior some more, because there isn't a lot in the interior, but there's a room in the house, or I guess it's a hallway, that doesn't look great because it's just a wall full of candles. But you would think that concept is like, oh, that would be really cute, but I didn't do it right. So I'm gonna end up doing like a wall of candles again, but I'll do it properly that time. So I'll just leave this one in as a, so this is where the idea came from, but I didn't really execute it well at all. So I think that this shape is pretty much what the build probably ends up looking like. I have a feeling that the top part where that's like little tiny tower square is, I feel like I changed that to having columns up there, and then I add like flooring over the entranceway, and I add grass. I think that's it. So this should be the entire shape of the build after I changed it a bunch. And when I was editing, I was like, I just built like 2 different structures in this one time, but I can't really cut any of it out because it wouldn't make any sense. So I was just like, okay, well, it starts off looking one way and then it's completely different. So, normally I don't do that, and I end up not being happy with the end result. So I'm proud of myself for being like, you know what, let's fix this while I'm here. Oh yeah, I do change it to the columns. That was a good call, Megan. Good job, because I didn't like that tower either. I've been liking just adding roof pieces on top of columns to add height to builds without having a bunch of walls, because walls make it hard because then I have to paint them, and that's my least favorite part of building, is picking out like wall swatches. It's not fun for me. I use the same ones over and over again, but like once I get to that part, I'm just stressed every single time because for a couple reasons, and it's because I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again, but then I don't know how to do something different and make it look good. So here, I start putting ivy everywhere, and I didn't put any wallpaper yet, because I was hoping that I could cover majority of it up with this green, so that it's less pressure when I'm putting in the brick and stuff, which I probably will start doing from now on, because it definitely helps, even though I still struggled a little bit because I had the vampire brick and I end up trying to put it on only some pieces and putting some other stone on other ones, because I don't like my builds to be all just one brick, but it ends up being pretty much all one brick, except I add some accent pieces of, like, I think it's the Jungle Adventure mossy stone wall. So those are the only 2 I like the whole time. Oh, and these tall bushes, like the little like mini tree bushes, I learned are really good for like changing up the ivy a little bit to add different color in. It looks great with my reshade too, because normally like I think my builds start blending into the background when it's just a bunch of the same color ivy, but those bushes really help because they're like a lot lighter green than the ivy is, so I really like that. I end up using them on the roof too, and they don't obstruct any view. Stuff like, I don't know what causes like some plants to be visible when you're doing the inside of the house, but I can never tell. But this one, it like they disappear when you go down floors, which is what I would like. There was me trying to hide an ugly part of the build because the rounded walls are really difficult to work with. I couldn't get them to be connected to the actual house, so they are just decorative. There's nothing in it. I'm sure that I could have added doors from the outside on some of them, but it didn't feel worth it to me. I think that like for the like most part, the exterior is what I really enjoy about this build and exactly what I wanted, and I didn't really like care about the interior or what that looked like. So all my effort went into the exterior. And this is like I'm really happy with the build, and it's helping me to feel like I'm capable of trying something like this again. Maybe even like more detailed. I think in my last voiceover that I did that got corrupted, I was talking about the possibility of doing a very tiny castle shell and just trying to put a lot of detail into the tiny shell. Because I like a lot of people use different roof pieces and they use tool to rotate it and stuff, and they make these really detailed builds that I'm really jealous of because I don't have the patience for that or the creativity. So I really want to like challenge myself to learn how to do that so it could become a lot easier for me to like just incorporate that into my builds like normally instead of me having to put effort into do it. Because like those roof pieces that I use that have like the pointy things at the top, there are like those two there, four lined up on the top roof, if that makes sense. I'm not good at describing things, but I sized them down to be little accent pieces in the castle, and that was me being really shocked and proud. I was like, wow, like I'm like all these people on Instagram who use roof pieces for detail, but that's the only thing I did, because I normally get all of my detail from Ivy. It's pretty lazy. I started putting more columns around to like add to it a little bit, which I think helped me in being able to just put all the same brick around, because like it was broken up a little bit by the like mossy pillars that I used everywhere. Which those mossy pillars match really well with the those railings that I use, and I don't think they're from the same pack, because the mossy pillars I believe are from that garden pack, the stuff pack, and then those railings I feel like are either Get to Work or Discover University. I could be completely wrong about both, but I don't think they're from the same pack, but they look really good together, and that could also be because I have reshade, which has helped me in building so much. If you don't have reshade, it makes it so much easier to pick swatches because it just like changes the colors a little bit, where everything looks good where maybe it doesn't with reshade off, which is like unfortunate, but I like how it looks. It's just like no one else gets the same experience that I do with how I like decorate it and stuff. So like if someone downloads it from the gallery, it's clearly gonna look very different from how I see it for myself building it and sharing it and stuff. So sometimes you'll be able to see me take reshade off because I'm like checking around and I'm like, how does this look with reshade off? But it just it doesn't really change anything, because I'm like, okay, that looks fine, I guess. But I used to build with reshade off, but as soon as I started doing these videos, I wanted to build with reshade on because it just looks nicer, and I felt like that's like kind of the aesthetic that I wanted for my videos instead of it not having reshade on. But I used to build without it on, and then I would turn it on to check things for like to see how it looked in pictures. So if I was second guessing something for too long, like I'd have a pillar and I'm like, okay, like does this look good with this? And I'll turn reshade on. I'm like, yeah, that looks fine for this, so it's cool. This is the part that I was changing. This was way after the fact. Is there anything that I changed? I added more windows. You can't see them from here though. So, did I put the chimneys yet? Hello? Chimneys, are you there? I actually don't know. I spun the build around and I still couldn't tell. Oh, I put a tree. I didn't even realize. So there's one tree on the lot. There's my chimneys. I always have to put them because I like the smoke in the videos. And that's the only reason I put them there. Normally I'd forget. I never use them. I also always forget to use fountains unless I'm doing a reel. So when I was doing my end of the year build reel, like a few weeks ago, when I was doing that, I realized that when I was building not for video, that there's nothing interesting happening for me to put in the reel. So then I started adding little bug things around and ducks, which I need to remember to use because I never do that. I always see people use the fireflies and I just forget. I didn't do this in this build either, but I need to remember to do that. But yeah, this is the interior, which was going to be a separate video, but it's not. It's all going to be very red, a lot of plants everywhere. There's a lot of cuts because I wanted to, like, get it short enough for it to make sense just in this video. Because it's already 20 minutes long. That's pretty long. I do know that, like, I see other people's videos and like they're long too, and that's what encouraged me to just do this. I was like it's fine. I think I'm thinking too hard into it on keeping it short. So I just kind of went with it with this one. I use pretty much the same red flowers in every room. Which I think works. It's definitely laziness. I got lazy because the interior didn't matter to me as much because it also, like, it's very red inside, but the outside is very green. I start trying to bring that to the outside a little bit by, like, decorating the front door with red flowers around. But I didn't want to, like, bring red flowers to the exterior because I'm like, I just did the exterior. I was like, I don't want the red flowers because I like how it is already. But yeah, I have the entryway with just bookcases and stuff. There's a living room, dining room, and kitchen downstairs. The floor plan came out, like, very quickly, which I thought was going to be difficult because some of these rooms didn't look like there was a lot of space and they were like weird shapes. So I added that hallway because I never add hallways into my builds. And I have to always put a lot of, like, energy into figuring out how hallways work for some reason. I can't build them. I've been getting better at it because I'm putting effort into trying to have hallways into my builds. Because, I'll see, when I do my shell challenges and I tour people's builds on my Twitch stream, I'll see, like, these beautiful hallways. And I'm like, Megan, you know hallways exist, right? You could do that for your builds. So yeah, here's the extra windows I'm adding because I needed windows in there. There was no windows around. That's like the one mistake I always make is I put the windows in before I even plan out the floor plan. And then I always have to add stuff. Sometimes I just refuse to, and there'll just be a strange window really high up in a bedroom, and I'm like, they don't need to look out the window. There's enough light for them coming in. I think the dining room is one of my favorite parts of this build. It's very simple. I like all the clutter that I put on the table and, like, all the roses around. Just feels very pretty. I feel like I'd like to have tea here. And those lantern candles are really good in the red swatch. I always find, like, new items that I want to use all the time when I start filtering by colors. Because I filtered by red so that I could pull out a lot of red things to, like, fit my vision. So I found a lot of stuff that I like those rugs. I don't even know. I could not tell you what rug that is because it's in a swatch that I never click on. Because there's so many items in the game that it would take forever to just sit there and go through each swatch to find what you want. But once you do like a build that's all one color, you start really just like figuring out like, oh, like especially paintings too. I'm like, what is this painting? I've never seen this before because it's in a random swatch where it's like the first picture is something that you would never even think to use until you like shuffle through it. But anyway, the kitchen is very simple. This is like the least amount of effort I've put into a kitchen before. It's really just counters, the stove, the fridge, and plants. I didn't put any shelves. I've been really liking putting shelves with a bunch of like kitchen clutter into my kitchens, but I couldn't be bothered. I think I just like I put so much clutter into my recent builds that this one I was like, I deserve a break. You know what? Sometimes it's okay to just like not put in as much time as you normally would into some builds. This one I don't think really needed a lot because I wanted it to have like not really abandoned, but just like strange. Like it was like someone wouldn't normally be living in this house. I mean, you could. I think that you'd have to like spend a lot of time watering the flowers unless they just magically grow. I'm not like I don't know. I guess these flowers technically would that be like ivy growing up the wall with different colored flowers. That would be so pretty. I would like that a lot in real life, but I put some of those vampire bramble things into the walkways. So I guess maybe technically it wouldn't even be usable in like real life. But I've liked using that werewolf draw with the plants in it to pretend like it's a part of different objects. I've done it before with a dresser, and then I did it on this one too. It's like something that I always forget I like doing. It takes a little bit of effort, especially like it took me a while to line it up correctly, but it ended up working out. Here's where I started realizing that I wanted the outside to have a little glimpse of what the inside was like. So I just grabbed some flowers and I put it there, and that was enough. Because like the only red on the outside is this and some of the stained glass. But the outside, I just liked it too much. So that's it. This room also, I think it has like 5 objects in it. So there's the pipe organ, that's one. The couch. Okay, if I move on to the next item. Oh, there's a bunch of plants. So do those count as items? I wouldn't even count the rug as an item. But I know that I put a couch, the pipe organ, a chair, and a record player. So maybe that's like 4 actual usable items because the fireplace wouldn't fit in there. But I need a fireplace because I need to be able to light the chimneys that I was like so worried about making sure I put in. But usually in all of my builds, I put a bunch of the vampire, like, wall holes and stuff. It just makes the build look nice. Even though it's, like, making it look just, like, not very nice. Especially the big stain on the carpet, too. It just makes sense. I think that if you have plants all over the floor, there's gonna be giant stains. And honestly, I should have put so much more water damage in the house because I think that's the only way that that amount of plants would grow in a house is if there's just severe water damage. But this is the stairway hallway that I kind of, I went overboard. I put a lot of candles on the walls to a point where I look back and I'm like, Megan, you could have just not put maybe like 5 of those candles. Because, like, I covered the wall. I could have removed some of those. There's no going back now. I'm keeping it. I do like these, the shelves and the candles that I used on these. I end up using that in the bathroom too, I think. And it's going to be another thing that I try and use in my other builds if I remember. Because there's always like one little tiny detail where I'm like, wow, like I love that in all of my builds. Because it's not like big enough to be like overused. But I never remember. Because I think like because a lot of this is in red swatches, and that's what I like about those candles, and I never go for the red swatch. So the bathroom, I'm not sure if the bathroom's functional. I don't, oh no, maybe it's not, because I end up putting more flowers on the wall and here too. So I'm just gonna say that this build isn't functional. You can't use the stairs anyway. I'm just gonna assume that the bathroom's not functional too. But yeah, here's more of the same candles. I love those lanterns. I don't remember what pack it's from, but I never use them, and I just feel like I discovered them for probably the first time, and it's perfect. That's not true. I remember using that in a winter build, but that's because I was using a bunch of white swatches to like bury into the snow, so I only ever use it when I'm looking for a specific color swatch, I guess. Oh, and this is the panels that I use in my other build that Mossy Sims commented on. And I'll always go on about how amazing that panel is to cover up certain, like, you know, the walls that have the wood panels on it already, but sometimes the wood doesn't match what you want. So that's a really great way to, like, just use any wallpaper you want, not having to worry about what else is there. And I got so lazy with this bedroom. There's nothing in it. Which, you know what? I'm letting myself be lazy with this build. But, like, the video's about to end anyway. The bedroom's very empty. So, but yeah, I'll keep you all updated on, like, what my next build video will be. I'm mostly on Instagram. But, so yeah. That's where you can find me, like, in between YouTube videos if you found me here. But so thank you for watching. Bye.